Hmm.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Very excited for what is going on and here around, and also for the space and the possibilities that you are offering for also making this topic and maybe nurturing collectively the perspective
Hmm.
is collectively having and the perception that we have in terms of sound, in terms of water, in terms of environmental. It's very interesting to make this
Hmm.
conversation. Of course, for those that we will join just after the calling, well, I hope that the chat, the WhatsApp can be also a vehicle for those
Hmm.
that maybe would like to share something and they
Hmm.
will not be with us.
Hmm. Okay, so why don't you give me and others like a situationer? I've heard you speak a little bit about this even when you were in Palawan, but I
Yeah.
think big picture would be interesting.
Well, I was thinking about this, how to introduce collectively in a useful way, because what was noticed, as you say, we were talking this from Palawan a bit. What was noticed is the possibilities that the space and the sound the vibration that we are holding and that we are learning to manipulate and crafting is opening many possibilities more than we think in the world that is operating right now.
Hmm.
So I just want to bring this as a statement that will
Hmm.
open from there
Okay.
my way to approach to the topic. Well, yeah, what is happening is basically there's a space that is being opening and also calling me for and calling all of us in our communities and our things. If we have ears to hearing the different movements that they are happening in environmental spaces and some endeavors in our local communities, maybe we will see this same spirit. But in this case, the context here is Mexico. Mexico has two big oceans, seas. Actually, is the double of the surface of the country. And there's organizations and communities that they has been wanted to really have a sustainable relationship with the environments and making also money and developing knowledge from having this
Hmm.
biodiversity in front. There's also people in the DC, the capital where I am in Mexico City. They are not just having this resonance. They have financial muscle for connecting organizations, bringing important people and whatever, and people that knows specialize about many things. So Oceans Week has been becoming an encounter yearly. This is the second year for many people interest between the Mesoamerican aspect of the Central American part of the oceans and the global efforts on that. And it implies also resources in arts and media, in music, um, pedagogical, and also specialized science. The people is sharing their research and what they are finding in the process of protecting their environment and how they are transforming their perception of themselves and the earth through the process that they are doing in the beginning as an individual. Many of them are already as organizations, and others are as maybe institutions, and other people they represent different um, normal international institutions that they are behind this. So what are happening here is through this last event on the beginning of June was open through me an opportunity to make a collaboration with you, Pi. And I was thinking when you say how let's find a way to invite to all the community. And I think that I was thinking today that it's possible that we can include everyone in something, and it will serve also for us as a space holders in terms of we can recreate different gesture and dimensionality about subconscious and waters yes, unconscious and underwaters. I feel that it will be a very interesting exercise of production too, for all of them that would like to maybe considering these textures, these dimensionalities, and the reference that we have already inside Inner Dance playlist. So basically, with these people, was interested in what I was playing, how I was directing the conversation and the things, and they invite me to be, if I want to join, to be the composer of its documentary. The documentary have already a trailer. I will be sharing it right now. I just received it 2 days ago, recently.
So you mean on that you mean they're inviting you to do the music for the documentary?
Yes, exactly. And it is and the topic is about the kelps, the algae, the trees of the kelps. And the documentary is called Seaforestation, which is to help to recover these kelps, because they are the place for coupling, birthing, food, protection, and well, this is very much deployed, and it's very well identified around the world areas for also for coral arrecifes, as also for this kelp. I don't remember the name, how to pronounce properly. Kelp, yes.
Yeah, kelp.
Yeah. So through that opportunity that I have to have total freedom, but also responsibility with the management of the music, maybe what I can propose to, which is something, a topic I develop here, there's a space that can be giving an option that maybe these short clips or short gestures that you can create, they can be used in transitions in the clips. But what happened in the transitions is that these transitions can have maybe 1 minute, minute and a half between one topic and another topic. So maybe it will be very interesting as a aesthetic exercise, and also as I really feel to treat this thing not just from the musical space. I want to, we'll have very soon, and I can share also the script, and understanding the different process of consciousness that the directors want to present, reflecting, to considering, seeing the facts, the judgmental part of the process, the discrimination, and after, yes, how people is responding in the territories, the values and the qualities that are there, the reflections, unification, we are one, we want to solve, and all these states of consciousness that should to ending in basically in a definitive, in an ultimate change of perception of that is the topic. In this case is the ocean, in this case is the forest, so under the seas and all these systems. And my last thinking about it also was has to do with, as I assume for the conversation today, is we as a humanity, we are able to see in the depths of the universe as nobody, but we don't know our undersea very very much, and even we don't recognize visually the soil. And also parallelly to this incident with these billionaires, that they are in this thing, and how this is
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, the timing is
Yeah.
strange.
And also the element that have to do with all these immigrants that nobody care about them when they are dying in the ocean, but these billionaires and all these contrasts that the consciousness try to calibrate in itself through the polarities, and countering these topics and these circumstances that are showing up. So I found this very interesting, also connecting with the topic today and other areas. And well, basically, for all the guys, yes, I was invited to buy. I had the opportunity to hearing one of the last work that you were doing with the synthesizers in your home. You showed me 2 times something, and I had this recorded in my head. So I was holding these textures and possibilities, and this is why I was inviting you to try to join in a piece a long piece for a process, reflecting about the sea and maybe how people can become the ocean. And as you were mentioning many times, what is, when you say the question, what is the inner dance processes? The hearing of the dolphins and the whales was very interesting to finding about it. It's very sophisticated, very complex. Definitely, they live in a different dimension because the sense is for different dimensionality. It's very interesting. And well, this is what I have to say. I hope that this can open the conversation. And
Yeah. I think what this is doing first and foremost is it's directing attention towards something mysterious, but obviously something interesting for a lot of people. Um, like we need to become like mermaids or mermen in order to understand this topic. We don't live underwater. We live above water, but understanding the evolutionary case, there's something still probably dolphin or whale like in us. So I think people have spoken about whales and dolphins a lot. Um, for a long time, probably since we were experiencing them. But I've been reading up on the topic since we decided to do this call or this meeting, and I'm realizing that we don't actually know that much at all, or if at all. We don't know much about what it means to be underwater, to be crustacean, to be sonically developed like whales and dolphins, to have sonars, to perform echolocation. But I did take some notes, and maybe this could be interesting starting points where music could be the bridge. Yeah, like I don't think we can fully experience what it means to be a whale or a dolphin. I'm not sure if that's the point anyway, because we're human. But at the same time, I think it's an interesting concept. It has, I think, a lot of potential to get people to go deep. Because when I made the whale song so many years ago, I think that did something and it still continues to do something. But that was a long time ago where technologically we were still quite early. Um, right now, we are basically healers who have our hands on instruments. So we're not just musicians, we are being directed by the energy, and the energy is expressing itself through the music. So I think that unto itself is kind of powerful. So what I'm seeing here is it's really great that you have a collaboration going on there in Mexico, and I think it goes beyond just the documentary, because activism and environmentalism, it needs to, it's all over the place, but it's not that easy to ground. And I think Mexico would be potentially a good place to actually start grounded yet relevant yet, like huge conversations, because Mexico has all these ironies of old, new, populated, and coastal. So I'm glad you're bringing this up. Like what Una said, this is really relevant right now with what Iceland had decided. I think people are quite depressed because they don't know what to do with the problems, like ocean plastic. I think one of the big problems with whales and dolphins in crustaceans is the ocean is noisy. And there's so much of these sounds going around, and it's confusing the sonars. So you have all these beached whales and dolphins that are losing a sense of yeah. So I took some notes, but yeah, to reflect on what you spoke about, I do find it interesting that I think so many people around the world are now trying to imagine what it means to be 13,000 feet deep in the water, which is like the Grand Canyon twice, maybe the Eiffel Tower 100 times or 10 times. I don't remember. I saw a CNN ratio reporting on this submarine that's lost. So I think a lot of people are probably imagining the depth or the deep, and right now it's with fear. It's like dark, and it's the way they say it's super cold. You know, you normally would not survive even at surface depths, but this is like super deep, and I think it's weird the timing of it all. So I would be interested in maybe talking about this alongside the school project that we're doing in Palawan. So you're thinking about maybe snippets in the documentary, the movie documentary, but maybe we can do something longer as well, because if we're gonna do something like this, it needs to be experiential. When you think about a documentary, then you have words, you have images, and the space is limited because it's based on narrative. But to really get people into an experience of the ocean, it needs to be experiential and needs to be long because the experience of time and space is not the same. Um, so I can see maybe possibilities where children can think about the ocean not just through facts, but through sound. Maybe sound holds a part. Okay, so it's just some facts that I picked up. Um, Whales and dolphins, if we're going to channel them in particular, what makes them interesting is, for one, the size of the brain and the capacity of the brain. You know, we all watched Lucy and it talked about how dolphins have greater brain capacity than we do. It's 20%. So it goes beyond echolocation. They're using a lot more of their cerebral capacity. Um, so given that, the difference between dolphin brains and human brains is their auditory cortex is a lot bigger than their visual cortex because you can't really see underwater. I think you can hear more underwater than see underwater. At the same time, sound travels 5 times faster underwater, and it also kind of travels fast, like further. So if we lived underwater, we probably would have designed our brains and our bodies according to that kind of environment. So right now we can only imagine humans. Okay, there's something about the human range. We can play with this concept because the human hearing range normally is somewhere in between 20 to 20,000 hertz, which is 20 kilohertz. Um, Whales can hear much lower frequencies, and then the height of the frequencies is okay. We can hear up until 20 kilohertz. They can hear up to 200 kilohertz. So they make some of these high pitched tones that probably we can't tell. You know, it's off the charts for us. Um, and dolphins, their tonalities are quite high. I think they go up to 160 kilohertz or 160 kilohertz or something like that. So we're at 20. So we can think about the range. I think from the basis of music, like whales can do about 12 octaves. We can only do 8. So we can experiment with low bass and high pitches, high treble. I've already been experimenting with that, and I'm getting some interesting feedback. Um, so whales and dolphins, they don't have external ears as well. I think this is something we can think about. Like they don't actually have ears that jut out externally like we do because they can't swim underwater safely or comfortably. Water would get in. So um they so they do have a bigger auditory cortex, but what's weird is they actually hear through the jawbone. they have these openings in their mouths, and they can measure sound through that part of the body. So I think um they're still using like longitudinal waves, but I don't think scientists actually understand. Maybe dolphins and whales and other oceanic creatures may be listening to the sound with their whole body, not just with the ears. It doesn't make sense to me that they're sensing the sound just with the jawbone muscles. Um, I don't know how much you know about dolphins, but they have this thing at the top of their head called a melon, and it's supposed to be like a tissue that's supposed to help to. It's part of, the like the blowhole. It's supposed to help in how sound is sent out, directionally speaking. And then it's like their mouth almost, because they don't have mouths. That they do have vocal cords, but they don't. It's not the same. It's to speak through the ocean. So my feeling is that the melon isn't just for producing sound. I haven't researched enough on it, but I feel like maybe it's also to help with the sonar. Um, so I don't know, like echolocation, teaching people how to listen rather than just to see, may do something for schools, for children, for parents, and even for activists that are maybe too linear or too logical or too angry. How to, if you're gonna save the ocean, I think you need to experience the ocean first. I don't think the literature would be hard for us to create in order to invite them to experience the ocean. So what I'm thinking is beyond just the documentary. If we're gonna create stuff anyway, we may as well maybe create some experiential elements that could apply to. For one, like in Palawan, we could use it for the schools, and then on your part, you can use it for maybe making proposals to the environmentalists that either you can do this with the children. I love schools because that's where we can systematize. You were there, Oscar, when you were starting the project in Palawan, and now that had totally spread. Um, so what I love about it is it's quite science based, but it's the kind of science that makes you go beyond facts because there's so much unknown. But it's almost like we know just a little bit, and that little bit is just enough to seduce or invite or pull people into the experience, because we do have recordings of the whale songs, and those could easily be incorporated alongside. For me, when I work with synthesizers, I don't see them as artificial instruments, because most of the synthesizers that are used are analog, meaning they basically work with voltage controlled oscillators. So they're not digitally produced. They're actually electricity pulsations that have amplitude and frequency, which the human voice and the whale or dolphin song also have. Um, so it's like all these basic things. It's so easy to put out there because they're interesting. Like what the sound feel like when you're underneath the water. Um, I feel like music and sound is not explored enough in schools. We're too visual and we're too verbal. I do believe that the sound needs to concommit with the visual, because even me as a learner, I can't really learn if I'm just listening to sound. I need to see what I'm hearing. So I'm developing like a lot more new tools for upcoming trainings. Like I'm working with spectrum analyzers, which are oscilloscopes. So a lot of people, they really want to experience, they're experience seeking, they want to close their eyes and um but what's really interesting with oscilloscopes along with the portable EEGs is even if you don't feel anything, it doesn't mean nothing's happening. So if you can actually see the nature of the vibration, it helps us to observe it from a more long-term, more organic process. So I got a new synthesizer that's interesting. It was maybe 3 days ago, and I've barely used it, but I loved it so much that I actually wrote the owner, the founder of it. I felt that, okay, these guys know what they're doing. This is as close to inner dance as instrumentation go. I was so impressed. I had to be slow about it because I'm having the meeting with Roland, and I don't know what the implications are with the donation of instruments is coming from Japan and Europe. I don't know if they're gonna ask for exclusivity. But when I wrote the owner of this Soma synthesizer company, it was with the whole community in mind. I'm more like people should know more about this. So I was surprised because the guy replied, I think he's actually Russian, but their office is scattered. He was like, okay, glad you resonate. Like I did have an awakening experience. The music for me is transcendent. And he ended the email with, okay, how do you want to collaborate? Um, so the coincidence there for me was when I was working with this thing. It's called the Lyra 8. It was making these whale sounds and dolphin sounds. I'm like, oh my God, like, wow, someone actually finally was able to do it. Um, so there could be possibilities there. Um, at this point, I think what we're heading towards is more of a project design, maybe, like systematization and collaboration kind of is interesting because probably if this is going to be interesting in Mexico and this is definitely going to be interesting in Palawan, this could be interesting like in Spain or like somewhere else. Um, and because me and you were both more into the music production than many facilitators out there. I think if we just go ahead and do it anyway, that would provide some kind of template that's very easy for people to use. Um, what I love about it is it's so thematic, and the theme is so auditory to begin with. So I think with the current events, with the current news, but even beyond that, um, it goes beyond just this thing with the billionaires and the thing in South Asia that collapsed with climate change happening. What I would wonder about is environmentalists and activists they're too angry and they're trying to save the world, but um, when they go into the adrenal cortex, the adrenaline gland, and the doing, you know, um, they get tired and a lot of people they get overwhelmed who aren't them trying to listen to them because of the anger, how to bring more heart and less of the emotional charge in activism. um I think this is what I'm interested in because I'm not with the activists, and you seem to be. So we did have this conversation. That was our last conversation, like in Palawan, about this topic. um what would it mean to um yeah, bring an experience of the earth rather than just saving the earth to the activists. I think you need a kind of design for them to, it still needs to do something for them to really go into it. There needs to be some kind of outcome or output. So I think it could be interesting for them to realize that, okay, we have this documentary in the works, but what could it mean that we could also have like an album or like something that schools could use. So no matter how long it takes, we could, because it needs to be qualitative. And what I see in this is maybe the literature alongside the sound be really interesting. I was even thinking of maybe games children could play around the ocean through the sound. Maybe there could be enough interest with some people, so we could let this like conversation that's being recorded go, and see if it actually appeals to some people in the community. That could be organic enough. So those are my thoughts or ideas based on what I've heard from you the last yeah. So ball's in your court now.
Mm. Wow. Well, I think that when you were talking through in the part of the chapter of the ocean and all the sonars and all this noise and all what is how the sound is contaminated, or well, how it's saturated, sorry, it's not contaminated, by sound. Yes, I don't want to be judgmental. What I mean with this is really what is going on in our subconscious. All these voices, all this saturation of symbols floating here and there, and the thing as a collective, how it's organizing the waters, how the process. I'm more personally, I want to share something about a bit of background in order to situate a bit of conversation why I'm in front of these possibilities and surroundings. Very shortly, maybe 14, 15 years ago, I was leading some processes in Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta and Valledupar in Colombia, in the north of Sierra, where this community, very particular, the Kogi, they live. And I was having such an inspiration from the river. I can say that I was in communication, as each of you can do it, with the river, but my response was very particular. Um, and suddenly other things happened, and the idea, the inspiration that I received to do was becoming the second prize in the Ibero-American uh, like pricing the strategies, ideas, and success of these strategies about protection. And basically, what I did a permanent change in the legislation of my city and the participation of communities and other stuff, basically. So from there, I was in this musical exploration in connection with nature, with places and things. And when you were talking by about, again, returning to the topic about, yes, the oceans and the subconscious, and also connected to the idea of we can make a compilation of different spectrum of frequencies and expressions of us. Of course, the ocean can be something that is already used many times, but the subconscious, the connection with this aspect of the work that can be done, I feel that is very interesting to see also inner dance as a potential therapeutic label that allows to us do something with the science that is already here and that is still permeating to each of us in this community. And well, it was coming clearly, and I saw this very strongly, and I think that this topic can be a very very interesting igniter for putting this in consideration of all the participants, all of us. Yeah.
I want to interject
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Katerina is in this call. I don't know if she's like here. Like she's a she's a she's into psychotherapy, and I have a memory that she was really into the whale song as a therapy for herself. So maybe she can add some layers or textures here based on her experience with it. I think she really stayed with it. I'm not sure if this is true. I know she stayed with one other playlist. Katarina, are you there? Katarina's in Brussels.
Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Do you want to speak a little bit
Here
about this? Yeah.
I'm doing my best because I'm on my way back home and I'm in the middle of the city, so it's very noisy.
It's actually not. It's
All right.
canceling the noise. We only hear your voice.
Or okay. Yes, I didn't expect to say something, but I felt very the call to be a part of this this session today because I've always had something with the I don't know if it's the oceanic memory or the water, either during a session. And I remember this last session we held with the military and the therapist and the patient clients all together in the same room. I really felt this, the element of water, like being a part really of the session. And what really impressed me is that 2 weeks after this session, it was, oh yes, we played Synchronic. It was the first time even for me. But what really impressed me is that 2 weeks, 1 week or 2 weeks later, the same playlist Synchronic was played by Leaf in South Africa. And she felt the same, actually, the strong presence of water. I'm not quite sure it's what you've been expecting for me to talk about, but there's something with this
Yeah.
with the water, the presence of this memory, the water, the whale.
Yeah. How were you with the whale song? Because I have this memory that you kept diving into it, but I'm not sure if it's you.
I don't know if it's me, but above this, beyond this whale song, I remember, I think it was the last time I went to Palawan. And I guess, yes. And maybe it was with the session with the South Africa as well. I think so. And I guess it was something about the sound, but I had like a, yes, you were saying that whales that are not really see underwater, but I had this the memory that I saw the whale just in front of me, like I was underwater, but I couldn't say if I was a whale, a fish, or a human being, or a cell, or a molecule. But this one kept really in my. It was strong for me. It was really strong. I'm not quite sure that I'm the one you were talking about, but
Yeah. I think I even have more memories coming up now that we tried to even see them in Palawan. Like the whale shark was showing up in around, and we tried to, but I'm not sure anymore. But this already helps. Just what you're saying is so good, as something spontaneous and not even intentional. That they're actually there. They're communicating.
so maybe something I would love to talk about. I remember that the last time there's some kind of purpose when I'm laying down and listen to this the whale song. There's something in this playlist that like I need something there. I have to be honest. And it's not a playlist that I will like, I don't feel to listen to it like randomly, but it's really okay now. It's really this this vibration that that I really need, and it's like for me like a foundation, like a base for me to, how to say that, to look something deeper within me, like a ground for me to like, yes, like a ground, something yes, won't be to be able to look deep to things that are, yes, they're ready to be looked at. So and yes, yes, the wave vibration or sound or whatever we call it, Yes, it's really for me like a support as well. Yes.
Amazing. Yeah.
I s-
Well,
I still having something
yeah.
to say about Catherine. Thank you so much for what you say, because you makes me wonder something, and have to do, and again going to the thing of the music and the subject of the excuse for the musical compilation of the pieces of the playlist that we can compilate about this topic deeply, is about the thing of swimming, because really the whale song for me also is like, okay, let's go diving, let's go to the ocean today deep, and let's see what we will find in the depths of the ocean. So the concept of swimming can be very interesting, because swimming is also a way to go to another dimension. We are already going to the water, is changing dimensionality, is changing also even the brain disposition and the physical disposition, is modifying us. So this is the also when we see the whales as a mammals and the dolphins, we see what will happen to us as a human species. We were having more water in the air, and we needed to be forced to really being between water and land more deep. Yes, more in terms of adaptivity and physiologic change. And at the same time, no, well, I just want to interrupt for that aspect that you were sharing, Katarina. Thank you. You makes me bring this.
Mm. Christina, I have a question. When you sent me a message lately that you did a playlist in the intensive, and you laid down, you said new dreams, but I'm not sure if that was actually dreaming dreams. Do you remember?
Yes.
It was dreaming
I don't
dreams.
know. You can hear me because this
It's okay.
earphones are not good. Yes. Yes, it was the New Dreams, I think.
It
Yeah, I think so.
I'm trying to see if it is about actually dreaming dreams or new dreams.
Ah, maybe. Oh, maybe. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you were saying something interesting where your brain seems to be going again into an inner dance wave. What's interesting about dreaming dreams is I constructed that with Katarina, and that was for like an event that she was holding with doctors and across France and some parts of Europe. But when I worked on that, I basically actually put in the whale song along with the womb room on top of a whole bunch of songs that um, Katarina chose. For me, that was an interesting exercise because if I was to imagine the whale song, what would first be absent? What I would first need to take away in order to communicate with them is rhythm, because I don't think that rhythm for whales is the same for humans. Because if they can hear with such a high and low frequency, I think their range on rhythmicity is so different from humans. So there's something about human rhythm, and we can recognize human rhythm between maybe 30, 40 hertz, 20 hertz at the least, around 40 to 60. 60 would when it starts to make like a beat, like it starts to make a rhythm, and it would be all the way up until maybe 300 would be the most, but it's usually around 160, 180. So if I was to try to recreate the whale song, I would take away the rhythm, so it wouldn't sound like human music. But things were not whales, so I think it would be interesting to sense how whale or dolphin or ocean music would then come together with human music. And if it's not really about music, it's actually about the brain. So a part of our study would be about regression. Regression means to go back to the ancestors or to childhood go back to the primitive brain. So regression would be, in this case, from like it's either a psychological or more spiritual, developmental, or evolutionary question. What would it mean for us to regress back to the ocean? Did we come from the ocean? And then if we try to remember what our nervous systems looked like when we were in the ocean, that whales are part of our ancestry, for example, it's still there, like being in the ocean, being in the water, it's still a kind of memory for us. It's a part of our history. So inner dance, in a way, is actually a regression, but sometimes how we see regression in inner dance doesn't mean to regress or to go back to become primitive. Sometimes you need to regress in order to progress. And there's something very developed in the brains of not just the dolphins and the whales. The basically, like most fish, how do they communicate? They communicate through gesture and motion. They speak to each other through electric pulsation. Sometimes it's even chemical, because they can't communicate to each other through language, as we know language, and they're not very visual creatures. So they might move with the group in a way that's very mechanical. In a way, they are not separate from the environment. They are actually part of the water. So even with small movements in the water, there would be a wave, and they would be highly sensitive to the slightest changes in the waves. So in a way, regression along this line would actually mean progress, because if we remembered what it was like to use our ears and our whole body as the eye and the ear, there's no separation between the environment and the organism and all the other organisms in the environment. It's like this total sonic and tactile and temperature based environment. Like the environment and the organisms were all kind of one. That's the memory, that's the regression. So it's almost like for us to go forward, I think with environmentalism, it's kind of hard for people to think about this, because we're separate from the environment. We don't have the sensitivity, because we're not actually experiencing total oneness with the environment. But if you were an ocean creature, for one, if sound travels 5 times faster in water than in the air, then the kind of feedback, 5 times is a lot. It's not just twice. It's like if you had like 25 times, it'd be 100. The kind of feedback that fishes or crustaceans use in the water, it's much stronger. So going on land, standing up, we're actually a lot slower. We evolved in this way. We can think the way we do, but we actually had to slow down a lot of the thinking process that's more body based, and we had to limit the huge spectrum or range of frequencies that was available to us, maybe out of necessity, when we decided to breathe air the way we do now, and we don't feel each other in the same way. But anyway, like Christina, if you wanted to talk about the dreaming dreams experience, maybe that could be interesting for Oscar and others to hear.
Maybe before that, the dreams, I can share something about the whale song when I was laying down.
Yes.
What I feel, all my trips. So you were talking about the regression, but for me was also something about the future. Was uh, at the beginning I was like Katarina say, I was like swimming with the whales in the ocean, but I was feeling part of the group of the whales, not only swimming with them. So I was really part of them in the ocean. And then I was like going to the past, seeing like a village under the sea, like I don't know if it was Atlantis or I don't know. It was like all the whales swimming there with all the people, and I really remember that the people were working there under the water. You know, it was really amazing. But at the same time, it was like go to the future, and the whale sounds give me like talking with the I don't know with the uh, with the future people. I don't know how to say the name. I don't know. So it was like blue people, and I was talking with them. So it was in the ocean, it was in the past, it was in the future. So it's like a mixing, and this sounds is like mix everything and go around everywhere. So yeah, I think it was something like this. And about dreams, I was laying down. I really don't remember a lot. I guess with the crystal. You mean this, the pie with the
Yeah.
crystal?
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, I was laying down. I saw a man. I think was like a shaman, and he gave me a big crystal like a quartz. It was a white one, really big. And I, at this moment, I take this crystal. I was transported to Maya, and I was like looking to the size to recognize the place, and I say, yes, it's Maya. Yes, I can see the mountains. I can see the green space. I can see the indigo. Yeah, it's here. And then I saw down and I saw the bonfire. So I took this big piece of crystal and I put it in the middle of the bonfire, and then start to see very strong lights, white lights, and then a star in the middle. So yes, it was something really amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so welcoming the others. We're having a conversation with Oscar on these possible projects related to music and environmentalism and the ocean. So there's been a lot of talk in the whale song and what it means to have a memory of what it meant to be in the depths or ocean deep, which I think a lot of people are looking at now in the news with what's been happening in these people who were lost 13,000 feet underneath the ocean. So yeah, let's just keep this conversational. Like, if anyone would like to contribute, including Isabel and Caroline, I'm not sure who iPhone is. It could be Una. Or back to Oscar. We can just
Yeah.
see.
Yes, I was also wanting to deliver other things, sharing a few things the consideration. One has to do by I already, after being in Palawan, maybe I get much better situated about what is the potential minimum needs that in terms of music concepts. I noticed that for some people can look as strange or mysterious or impossible to get, or not impossible, but maybe it's not easy inside the inner than the handle of synthesizers and the handle of structuring harmonies and knowing how to use the relation of the intervallic relationship as a trigger mechanism and what kind of different constructions and tensions can offer this understanding of this basic musical, mathematical, or geometrical structure, which is the same knowledge that is expressed in a different way. So I'm organizing and preparing. I have material already about that I want to bring some tools, some understandings, practices, and possibilities for expanding a bit languages and understanding with music for basic things inside, basic mostly for inner dance community. This is not for people outside. I saw many possibilities that I was delivered in this little group that I had with Grant. That was 11 persons during 3 months. We were offering a program, a very interesting alternative program, complementary to what we used to go here. And the other thing is, as I was talking and trying to resonate this idea about dolphins and whales that we were talking since Palawan, because through the connection to Mares de Mexico, this organization, they are the ones that are in real contact with the people that are the protectors where the whales are coming to birth. It's the circumstance happens to me also in Colombia during 5 years. Maybe I will put visible some videos that I had when I was bringing people to areas where the whales they birth, the dolphins, and we were having access by permission and having, during the decade of the 2010 and 2020, a lot of this boom of DNA activation protocols and whatever was around the world. This topic became very spooky. I also was joining to that wheel a bit, and I was studying with a woman, a French woman, about these situations and these protocols. That was very interesting because these protocols involve all the system gland and all the glands and interesting Kabbalistic stuff. So I was bringing the people there, and I was having the access to this. This is in the most wet place in the world. This place is between Colombia and Panama, and the Pacific side. The humidity there is so intense. So yeah, returning again to the topic, I was distracted talking about it. Yeah, to next year, there's a possibility that is already this year was trying to take it, but is not wasn't matching with the timing of the whales and the dolphins in the Mar de Cortés, and also in all this peninsula in the North Mexican, Baja California is the name. So next year, I'm really looking forward to see how this whale ocean things is bringing us in order to maybe gathering and sharing and experience some things in this area, and bringing some people together to share about inner dance. So I have been sharing to you this year and with the Tuli and talking, but really the season is next year and can be between maybe at some point between 3 months, March and May. They are the time where they are available there. And well, basically, it's interesting to see how the handle of the textures, the synthesizers, and the sounds that we are, the curator. I would like to talk about a bit about the curator process too, if for those that would like to participate on maybe creating some sounds transitions on ambience, and they would like to put this in consideration without expectation to be taken or not. But will be interesting for those the gesture of the synths that you are using for that sounds. Very delta, probably very delta effects. Talking about the rhythms, I was also reading that the heart of the whales beat 4 times per minute. So 4 times per minute is moving 80 liters of blood each. Yeah, so the rhythm is very different.
The BPM.
Another dimension.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They go as so high that they can vibrationally and as so slow that they can physically. It's very interesting, these contracts that they have. Yeah. Yes, so particularly also the dolphins, they can handle the heart beating at consciousness. They can decide beating slow and quickly in the wheel. So, sorry, how, yeah. For the whales is four beats per minute. I don't know how will be this BPM, Tom. If this is
And that's it. That's the four per minute is
per minute.
4 cycles, meaning 4 heartbeats
There's
per minute. It's super slow. That's incredible.
Yeah. Because if we divide 60 between 4,
yeah, this already
yeah.
Resonates with what I said, that if we thought about rhythm where whale songs are concerned, it would be arrhythmic, meaning the span of their rhythm is super slow, yet their vocal or tonal range is so high that they can hear up until 200 kilohertz, as opposed to us that's at the highest 20 kilohertz.
Depending the race, they have different range of listening. They are for 150 to 200 kilohertz. Yes. But I was thinking something that Christina was describing and was even like taking the words, because indeed a slow time, what I was experiencing, I was philosophizing about what we were experiencing in the different nymph sessions that you share with us there, and the physiological and conscious reactions. What is the mechanism? Maybe it's my personal perception, but it's very interesting how when this slow time is held and the perception, the contrast of something quicker, because we can understand something slow or faster in references of something else. So, but this was in the session, yes. It is not the case in the real manifestation of the sounds in nature. In this case, with the whales. But what I mean is how is no about regression or future, is really a buckle that all that dimensionality of time is already immersed. Any future, past, or present is already happening. Maybe this triunity is really non-duality. Triunity, maybe, I don't know if this philosophically is resolved in that way. That Trinity is non-duality.
It's interesting. Yeah.
And how this booklet is really a wormhole that connects places and meanings, the different times, which create different time with different moments in the vibration. If we perceive time as vibration too. This was another question that I was talking with Ines. I had a meeting with this right hand of Nassim Haramein, Venezuelan scientist. We has been building a very interesting friendship, and we were eating last week. And I was saying to her, but what if time is a vibration?
Yeah.
There is no a vector. It's a vibratorial phenomena. And she was considering this philosophically and physics principles. So I wanted to say that this is what say Christina about the buckle and things was bringing me this reflection and this perception of the time. And well, I don't have anything else to say. I think that I already said some details about the possibility of participating in the documentary with some musical transitions and gestures. There's the possibility for checking the possibility of that very soon I will be opening something for bringing some basic foundations in music and theory that can help to bring more language and trust.
For sure.
To matching the theory, the practice, and the aesthetics with our feelings and the way that we perceive our own signature and sound. and also we need to do it. I don't like to compromise or forcing anything because nothing is forced, but I really hope that we can
Yeah, no,
really
it's
join
gonna
the
it's
community.
going to happen. There's actually a deep
Yeah.
need for this. Katarina has her hand
Yeah, yeah.
raised.
Thank you.
I
Thank
wanna bring in the synchronicity that you were describing, this one synth we were using in Palawan that seemed to hold the range. The synthesizer makers are actually from Greece. They're Greek, and Katarina's Greek. Katarina, I'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts now?
Oh, I'm still around sound. It's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for what you have shared by around the dolphin thing lately, because during our last session in Toulouse, happened in France, so about a month ago, we played Dreaming Dreams, and there's a lady, I guess she embodied everything you're just saying. So for me, just give it like a context now. And yes, she was doing those kind of movement, and she said that she was communicating with the dolphins. And while she was doing those kind of movements, I could feel that she was even facilitating the other bodies. So it was very beautiful, and I guess it's yes, it's I think that it's what you have said earlier. I don't know if there is. I wanted to share something, and I hope that it's. I'm not so far about the subject today, but I have something to share about maybe more the womb room and the whale song. I have this experience many times. I don't know if it's yours. I remember one time I went to a chocolate factory here in Brussels. This country of chocolate, and as soon as I entered the space of the factory, so many sounds, and I'm feeling someone very sensitive, or having so much judgment or being afraid anyways. But the first thing what happened to my mind when I've heard all those sounds from the factory, I said, oh, this is like it sounds like the womb room. And I felt very surprised to have feeling that actually. I didn't have any kind of judgment about, the sounds in the factory are not comfortable, or they're so noisy. I didn't have all those kind of judgments or interpretation that the mind could just use to have.
Yeah. It's like the inner
and
dance brain is able to manage all the sounds from a non-reactive, like womb space, which is like yeah.
Thank you. It's exactly that. And I had the same thing because I used to take the tram here in the city, and I had the same with the tram. Some sound coming from the tram, or similar. I said, "Oh, this is like the whale song," and I had the same thing. And I remember that I'm someone who's feel like very sensitive. Doesn't I can even avoid some kind of spaces like factories or tram, or because of people, or because of this noisy sound. And for sure, it's not what I prefer. If I can have those kind of things, but it's okay now. And in some ways, I don't know if I can say that, but those sounds, those vibrations from womb room and whale song, maybe help me a lot to not avoid those kind of spaces.
Yeah. That usually leads to anxiety or stress for most people.
Completely.
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah, that's that we could just keep talking about this. It's so much. Maybe we can hear from Una. Like, she's bringing up something interesting about what's happening in Iceland, and they've been holding a dance there. I think there could be something collaborative about this, where we could practice maybe with some early playlisting, because like some people holding any dance in the world, they do things thematically. So we were just in Singapore, and one facilitator there named Sting, she would hold all the sessions would be thematic. Like, okay, today we do trust, or today we do the ocean. So then instead of it being like a general, like explosive wham bam, boom boom boom, emotional, like it would be contained. So I think what Una was sharing about the news from Iceland is quite big, because the whale sacrifice practice there, that's cultural, ritualistic, it's really huge. And if that's actually shifting only now, I think there's something big that could be happening that could bring some consciousness to the, like, Iceland is an island nation. When you think about ice, it's the water, but then dot dot dot. What are your thoughts on this? I don't know. You can just jazz this up based on what's happening there.
Hey, Pi, thank you. Yes, I mean, this has been a discussion almost everywhere I go, but yeah, in my circle, it's also something that is very close to the heart. I haven't followed it for like my whole life. I wasn't aware, that Iceland was one of these nations that killed an animal that it's not something you can it's not a domestic animal. You can't farm it. It's a wild creature, and not that I would discriminate animals at all, but like I wouldn't take one over the other. But this is a very significant creature in for our climate and for our planet. And there was there was a point where I was like, okay, this is enough, because I kept hearing around me like people saying that whales, they eat all our fish. Like whales, we have to hunt them, because if we don't, then they will put the balance out, and they will be too many, and they will eat all our fish. So then we can't fish around the seas of Iceland, and it just felt such a awful logic. It didn't make sense. So in the end, I did my own research, and I'm not really, I'm not someone who watches the news a lot, but this I've been following. So I learned that like how whales affect climate, and how this is a total, we call it in Iceland, dog logic. Like it's not a true thing that whales would ever put out the balance of like eating too much fish. Like they actually, with their presence, they are totally vital in the ecosystem here, and they would boost the variety of fish. And they eat mostly mackerel, which is a fish that is quite dominant around the seas. And
meaning abundant.
Abundant, abundant. And then also their waste or their poop is a field of algae, and the tiny creature Svef is what do you call that? There's algae, and then there's like the tiniest sea creature that eats algae, and then the whales eat that creature. So they are almost like sustaining themselves as well. They're their own circle. Plus that the algae is something that does the photos, like algae, of course, creates fields of green in the ocean. So it helps with carbon dioxide, and also whales somehow, I don't know, I think they swallow carbon dioxide or something from the ocean. So there were just too many reasons why they are so important. But not only this, but it was also the way the horrible barbaric ways that like the whaling industry had of hunting these creatures. I just think this should be long gone, you know, in a Western and all over the world. I think this is animal cruelty, since they would, you know, they take they hunt them with spears, like they shoot a spear in them, and then of course these big animals, they don't die immediately, and then they hunt them down with that spear in their body for hours and hours, and it's just so horrible, and it's so sad, and they whale even pregnant whales, and it's just, yeah, there is just too much. So it's a huge I would say stepping stone, since why we do these, why is this animal cruelty still persistent? It's tradition. It's, we have been eating whales since we came to Iceland, since we put our feet here in this island. And fair enough, you know, it was quite harsh to live in the climate here, and people didn't, you know, they couldn't grow anything, and they didn't know how to harvest the geothermal energy, and so they lived in the freezing cold, and they could only live from fish and some sheep and horses they had brought with them, but often they died in the harsh winters. So yeah, I don't know, it's that's all my thoughts about this. And you know, in the debate at the moment, when you speak about this, like, okay, so they stopped whaling, then the other side of the debate is like, yes, but this was very last minute, la la la. And now, yeah, there's not really more important argument on the other side than only just like, what about the employment of these 200 men that, or 200 people that now cannot, you know, do their summer season, you know, and what about their families? Like, so this is a very, you can imagine the minusculity of this problem compared to 150 or 200 whales lives that have been saved for now. So yeah, it's huge and it's amazing. So I've been celebrating also with whale song, and yeah, remembering a bit, like, it's nice that both Womb Room and whale song have come up, since they are these watery, deep playlists, or for me, they were the first ones to sort of take me into the depths, really into some depths of, yeah, of the layers of life, you know, not just land and ocean, but, you know, the layers we can access. So yeah, glad for here on the topic.
Okay, an idea I was working on, which is partly why I invited you to speak, would be maybe like within Studios Mundos, a collaborative effort to build new whale songs even. It doesn't matter whether people are on Logic Pro, DJ Pro, MyNoise, or Ableton, or synthesizers, but it would actually be interesting to support this cause. So if there's this this movement happening in Iceland, and I'm seeing maybe the inner dances there could be able to hold this. Iceland is weird. It's interesting because it's an island born out of fire. It's a volcanic island that just came up, but then it's called Iceland. So to bring in the water element would be really key. Like a lot of people think that war will happen over fossil fuels and oil and energy sources, but really the biggest problem is going to be water, access to clean water. In many places in the world, in some places in the world, it's not a problem. Like Iceland, it's not going to be as much of a problem, but in most parts of the world, water is scarce. Like it's running out. So when we were doing the inner dance process for the school in Palawan for these teachers, one of them simply said that the human body is made of 77% water. So it only makes sense that we go back to water. And in her inner dances, she saw a waterfall and then a river and then the ocean. So I think the water needs to come back to our consciousness somehow. So a collaboration perhaps on this topic, if new playlists could be built that would be appropriate to where communities are at now. That's what I'm seeing anyway.
Yeah. But I would like if like Christina, she shared something about a tool or this adapter and the small machine where you can record the session, because I've been doing a lot of live teaching and I always wish that I could record that, because the programs that I'm using for creating playlists have always been like ancient ones, and I did never enter Logic Pro. My computer doesn't hold it most likely. So yeah, like this sounds amazing too. It actually feels quite something that I would love to participate in. I wanted to do like the same day this news came out, I was thinking like, should I do an inner dance last minute session today and do a whale song playlist? Like just have, if it's few people, only a few, it would be still amazing. I just needed somehow to, I had the urge to call for a space on this topic, and water and the whale and the vibration that this animal holds. And I would love to. I'm in on that if I manage to use that tool. And I'm on a summer break, so actually I have plenty time now.
Yeah, so that's partly a huge part of what this call is about. Like basically Oscar is set to do the music for a documentary. In fact, like there's someone from Mexico who is part of the inner dance community. Her name's Joy, and her husband, I don't know if she's married. I don't even know his name, but he practically directed and probably wrote the most watched documentary on ocean environmentalism. It's called Seaspiracy. I don't know if you know about it. They're off of Los Angeles now. So this topic has traction. Basically, just needs some kind of starting point. So practice elements makes it organic. This is something we're not just doing for one specific project. So maybe people can be inspired somehow. Like the whale seems to be some kind of convergent point. The dolphin is, but I think the whale's coming up as something a lot more mysterious. Somehow. like I read something a long time ago that the whale, I don't know what kind of whale it was, but every so often, like every couple million years, the whales add like a note to the song, and then the song just keeps evolving. They keep writing the song, so the whale song almost holds the memory of like the super old, and they've been documenting the story of the earth through this vibration. It's really, really interesting. So, I'm sensing somehow even like the dream playlists, like the sleeping playlists, would have something there. It wouldn't just be even the inner dance processes, but there's something about dreaming with the whales that would do something. So this could have I think we just need to be clear, because this is where science really meets spirit. There's a lot of possible science here, but the science would need to be super vague, because of environmentalism, you can't actually study the whales. You're not allowed to dissect them. You're not allowed to. So what they do is they reverse engineer. They study whales that died, and then they work their way backward, because they're not allowed to work in many species that are already kind of endangered to begin with. And whales are so big, they're hard to work with. They're super protected, so there's going to be so much gray area around this particular topic. But for our community, by sheer synchronicity, it just keeps coming up. It's something that's never gonna go away. It's never gonna go out of style. It's like we're channeling this. But it's universal enough where even like sci-fi themes work in the whale. They're supposed to be from outer space, and this and that. So it's calling us somehow. It's like knocking on our door, saying, hey, look at us. So maybe Oscar's project is maybe opening a door, and it's a big door, but the room is even like so much bigger. So maybe it's just a matter of starting out with something, and then other people who are just waiting would resonate. Okay, Isabel, you raise your hand. Let's hear from you.
Yeah. Hello. Greetings. Yeah, well, it's very interesting, this topic, and it was bringing stories, religious stories about water, and I was trying to find out how in different religions they deal with water. So I wanna, if I may, say some, just pinpoint some stories. In the Bible, there's a story of Jonah being swallowed by a whale. And the same story goes in Islam for Prophet Yunus. They are swallowed by a whale, and then they are very scared inside the belly of the whale, and because it's very dark, and they are deep down in the ocean, so they cry for God, and it's like the faith that saves them. But yeah, with rivers, Lord Ram and Swami Ramatirtha decided to die entering into a river. And Guru Nanak, he had like a lot of temptations, and the moment came to go into a river, and he stayed inside a river for 3 days, and people thought that he had drowned, but he came out with the nam, with the name, with the sound of God. And so I was trying to think what relationship there is between water and the sound, like at mystical level, because also in Hinduism, the goddess of music is a river goddess. But I didn't find anything. The only thing that I found is that that water behaves like a fluid as air behaves like a fluid. So it both take the form of the container. And that that reminded me, I was like, to where all this goes. And I was remembering a quote I read, which said that the mind takes the form of what it focuses on. So it's like water, and it changes form, the mind. It changes form into what it's focusing. So with them, I was trying to think what difference there is in the shape making inside the waters, like this guy who put music in water or said words, and the geometry of the water changed according to if he said love or if he said I hate you. The geometry totally changed. So what relationship is there between shape making, form, and water? And if it would be so easy to make the shape making in air having water vapor. But well, that's that's all what's going on with all this conversation. And also in the Hinduism, there's also another story. There's like a huge ocean of milk where Vishnu is lying and Lakshmi is massaging his feet. And I don't know if it's that ocean, but there's an ocean of milk, and there's the churning of the ocean. And in the churning of the ocean, it's done by both the devas, the demigods, and the I don't know, the bad guys, sort of to say, because they want to extract something by churning the ocean. And the first thing that comes is poison, but it's the ocean, and it's poison, which is like the crap that has to go out in the spiritual process, and then come beautiful things, an elephant, like spiritual things. And the last thing, is that I was just listening to some phrases of the Bhagavad Gita, and I was amazed because Lord Krishna said that among the fish, I'm the shark. And when I heard that, it was like, God, I mean, wouldn't he be the dolphin or the whale? But it's the shark. And yeah, that kind of yeah.
Yeah, irony or paradox.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Just wanted to throw this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Oscar, you raise your hand again.
Oh yes, when you mentioned definitely the whales and the dolphins are point of converging. Well, basically, I think that is also one of the how to say, the work in the subconscious and becoming aware is basically, if we still holding this paradox about what indeed is the underwater in terms of consciousness, in terms of different state of our system, because I cannot comprehend personality in a total unconscious realm. Yes, personality doesn't work in an unconscious realm because it needs to be aware of itself in order for perform personality. So it's very interesting how, as a point of convergence, we collectively in this special big moment, I am part of this participating in this climate change agenda, but I'm not a guy that believes in the change that is happening in terms of temperature that are provided especially or mainly for us. I am agree that we need to change the chain of horror that we have with nature and the exploitation and the manipulation and suffering that is not ethics and don't represent our capacity to be as a sentient being in a way. But at the same time, I'm not agree with all this agenda, but we are converging there, yes. And also the symbolism that have for those that has been studying the archetypes and the dolphins, the whale, they play very interesting definition. I was having an app in my iPhone that is already not available. The name is Dream Moves. I will place it here, but it's not available. I don't know. I still keep it because when I sign my session, when I open my phone in a new phone, this apps come down, but it doesn't exist. You cannot find it in App Store, I think, in this side of the world happening this way. And they have a very interesting references from scientific and psychiatric approach. Of course, when I say psychiatric, it's scientific, kind of. And they say that the meaning for the whales, they represent intuition and awareness. How much of this we are lacking in order to go, well, how much we need to dive in order to connect with this and bringing this to the surface. And in terms of the dolphins, of course, they represent spiritual guidance, intelligence, mental attributes, and emotional trust, and many other attributes for sure. But basically, they are in this umbrella of the archetype, and the archetype of the water. And well, it's like how to diving aware in the subconscious realm, how bringing presence and awareness into the unconscious, and being able to go to take a hair in the surface and going again deep in the depths and going again to the surface to take air. These movements of going in different oscillations, wave, and different brain states in willingness. I think that for me, they represent this, that the mastering of going and the depths of different brain waves, different state of consciousness, and going again here to this reality and connecting everything to the breath. So I feel this symbolic and this called my attention. I don't know if maybe I was a bit subconsciously connected with the wave that was sharing Isabel moments ago. But yeah, this is what I want to share.
Katerina, do you have your hand raised, or was that from like a previous hand raising gesture? I think it was from the previous one, but just in case you wanted to say something. Yeah. Your audio is not coming through so much now. Yeah, we can't hear you. So maybe like I want to maybe weave some threads that were brought up. I think we're headed somewhere. The concepts are quite vast. The themes are relevant, yet they're not easy to approach. From, let's say, a world-saving environmentalist activist point of view, spirituality isn't always the same thing. Sometimes it meets like we can save the world from inside because there are perspectives and beliefs that the earth is inside. Activism perceives that the world is outside. Activists are generally quite exhausted from trying to solve a problem that just doesn't get solved necessarily. So an inner activism is kind of interesting. So spirituality, healing, therapy, and then saving the world, all of these could still meet somehow. In our inner dance process, we've always tried to go outside even as we go inside. We've been there with the schools, with disaster management, with the medical crisis and the environmental crisis, and so on and so forth. For that, we have an eco village to try to live sustainable, even as we try to also be in a spiritual pilgrimage. So I do believe that a lot of environmentalists are like seeking an internal pathway as well. There's something about the symbologies of like water, but then as soon as we denote water, then we need to bring up fire, and then we need to bring up earth and air, because it's really important that we balance things out. One of the reasons why this book, the Da Vinci Code, did so well, it was like the bestseller for how long, was because it simplified this basic idea of it's partly Greek, partly Egyptian, the Merkaba, like the upside down pyramid is a chalice, which symbolizes water, and then the pyramid is fire. So it's pretty much like flow as opposed to form. At certain points, flow is important. At certain points, form is important. Form is about identity. It's about passion. It's about form is information, as opposed to flow. You just go with the flow, where it's not about holding identity or ego or personification. But sometimes it is really important that you hold form as opposed to flow. But because there is so much form, there's so much fire, there's so much intentionality in the world, what's missing is water. So we don't want to just celebrate water, because water alone can just flood us. There's a certain point when when there's so much water, it's time to hold your what is the intention there. What is the good that would be the inclusive good that would hold the space for all others. And then when there's too much intention, then people are just working from their own intention, and there's not enough compassion, listening, like flexibility, malleability. So at the end of the day, whatever music, whatever like framework we hold, needs to hold both. Right now, we are aware that the world's too hot. It's too warm, because there's been so much inflaming the process. So we need to cool. And in the energy process, the energy of the mother is actually quite cold. Like one of the ancient names of Kundalini is about like liquid fire, which denotes the super cold element. So sometimes when you're in that, it feels hot, but it's actually really cold. And when you hold something really cold, it feels hot. In a way. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, just as a way to end this, because there are so many interesting things that we have brought up, in the spirit of structuralism and deconstruction, when you mention one element, you need to bring up the contrast, the juxtaposition. And I do believe that we've honored, you know, like the contrast, so that there's this third space that allows for what was binary or dual to come into like a unity, so that we can move away from judgment and black and white and right and wrong and left and right and hot and cold. So maybe the conversation is partly about water, but water denotes fire. Activism needs fire. You need to know who you are when also we're becoming a collective consciousness. What is your part in the ocean is the collective consciousness, and you are also an organism in the ocean. You're allowed to be like an organism, but the organism, when it forgets the ocean, then that's where the problems arise. There's a separation between the ecosystem and the being within the ecosystem. So yeah, I think we can close soon. This is probably super inspiring already. It brings us into action, into possibilities. And so this Mundos, these conversations have been really a good way to go forward, to see what are people working on. So we're not just generalizing. What could be a point of focus? So today we worked with something Oscar was bringing up. So we're grateful. If you didn't do that, we probably wouldn't have thought about this. And based on what the people who showed up, the 7 of us, now there's 8, is Johanna. Johanna, hi. Do you have anything on this topic that you wanted to share before you close? Might be interesting to sense from the Finnish space what you resonate with. I think a lot of people showed up today has some connection with the water, the ocean, the sea. Katarina is originally from Greece. You have some people from Spain, Mexico. I'm from Palawan. Palawan's original name is Paragua, which in Spanish is for water. So we're seeing a lot of people who are coming from our archipelagos or people from the coast. Johanna, do you want to share anything about this resonance with this topic? Why you feel called to be with us, just in case like the steam called to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I just could catch up the last bits of the call. The theme is calling, but there is nothing that I can put in words shortly. I'm at my cottage where I've spent all my childhood summers, and there is no running water here. There's no electricity either, so the relation with water here is with the rain that falls down from the sky, and the lake that is nearby is our bathing room. and the sauna is for washing bodies and minds and spirits and clothes, dirty laundry, bringing babies or giving birth to babies, and then there's well water for drinking. So that's my relation with water. And today it was, we got a little shower of water for the plants in the garden. I have a lot of relation to underwater world because I have been diving a lot, scuba diving and in the tropical, in here as well, but
Yeah,
mostly in the
you tell
tropical.
Christina you used to live in Mallorca doing that job as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I did live in Mallorca for a short period. So there's a lot of resonance to the world underwater, and how do we perceive water and what is submerged, and the circulation of it within ourselves. But without seeing underwater, how do we perceive the world underwater? Because it's exactly the same as here. It's like the birds are playing in the air, the fish are playing in the sea, and they construct communities, they communicate even with people who go frequently. So it's exactly the same. How the sound or our eyes do or our senses do perceive the density differently is really interesting to measure what you see with your hands, that how they look, you know from experience how something looks or like is scaled next to your hand, but when you look something underwater and it seems like really close, and then you measure it with the distance or the length or the width of your hand, of your palm, is completely different. So it gives perspective through the density as well to how we observe things, and how they are in relation to ourselves, and the sounds as well. Yeah, how the sound travels underwater differently, and also what it might be for us as a fetus in the womb, listening to the surrounding soundscape that does not come directly from one direction to another, but is like spreading all around. Yeah, so many things. Thank you for this theme. I will surely listen to the call.
We may as thank you so much. I think we may as well make it full circle. We should hear from Caro. What brings you to this topic, or what you resonate with, and then we'll let Oscar close.
Yeah, so you literally, sorry, put me in the fire. I was listening. I was just coming back from the yoga studio, and yeah, nothing really like for me right now is connected to this topic, but I found it like really interesting, as I am like starting to dive again in the music part. And it's funny because it's been like months that I'm like, I want to find liquid sounds, like beautiful, like ambient liquid sounds that I'm really like sensitive to. And today is a good day for me because I really feel like really good, really good, just simply good. And it has been like some months is that I was not feeling like that, and I think I finally like passed like a kind of a threshold or something like that similar, and like a step uh, in my life. And to help me, I was listening to the whale song actually like the past months, and it helped me a lot, like going back to the Wombi ocean like space. I like what Jonah just said, like about like how is the world like perceived from underwater. It's like, I think, like the womb, and yeah, I'm like curious to to know what's in the what look like a brain of a whale. But I was saying to you, yeah, there is no research on it. We cannot do that. But yeah, like some months ago, I was curious also to see the similarities between dolphins and human brain, and there's something here in the air for me also. But I'm really interested about like all these liquid textures, about sounds and music, and how we can use nature sounds actually to hold bodies. I know that I think it's Joanna. Yeah, in Finland they were holding bodies without music, just using like nature sounds. So I'm really interested also by this part of the work, and to dive a little bit more into this. And I found like interesting like what you said about the Singapore like facilitator that were kind of containing the journeys into a theme. It's been a long time that I was thinking about it, because right now I'm observing that people have like really like strong and deep journeys. I mean, like maybe it's not in the feedback. We don't have like so much feedback like during the sessions we have, but it's after they are moved, really moved. So I'm like wondering about the musical journeys, and as it's in evolution, constant evolution, how maybe we can like I don't know if it's a good idea, or maybe it's too linear, but have like some themes or like different style of linear dance. I don't know, that we can like learn to hold also in different contexts in different countries. I don't know, these things are like coming to my headspace like since like a few months ago, few months now, sorry. And I'm quite confused actually. So I need help on it, because I'm quite confused. I'm like, yeah, okay, so this is bringing addiction, like not like it's not bringing addiction, but it's creating like this loop in the brain of the people. And also I think it's related also how we do present this work like in the society outside of the hospitals and schools, maybe more like about like regular people. I think there is something that we need to change, and it's also like linked to this way of holding the music. So I think we are like in a breaking point. Like there will be an evolution. This is what I feel like. I don't know. Like I don't have the design now. I really need to sit with the music, and as I was telling you yesterday, just need to sit with that and see what I can do with the tools that I'm like exploring now. And yeah, I think like people say like about nature sound, liquid sounds, oceanic sounds. How about like holding space for people, like bringing them to discomfort, but also in like in a protective and support, not supportive is not the word, but like also being feeling discomfort in a comfort zone or something like that, you know. I don't know how to express it, but to hold people also like in this way, like um okay, so you see, you have these processes, you're like afraid without being afraid, or you're sad without being sad, but now you can also like find the things in you, like to feel comfortable with it, like beyond what we are doing with the 12 stages. I don't know if it's like a new new model that we need to design, or new contextualization, but yeah, I think this will go with the words, like language also, like you said, like by like few days ago. And I think we need to redo everything, like because there is something that is like, I don't know if it's the wave of the energy that is strong, and maybe like in my space it's like slowing down, like really, like with people, and people are not so much coming to the sessions and all. And I think maybe I don't have to do this if it's not like just saying if it doesn't work I don't have to do it, but I think there is another way to bring people together that they're interested, and we are not here like kind of sell them something, you know, like a new way of illumination, or yeah, like fake gurus, you know. Yeah, something, you know. It's the same with yoga, you know. We have the same like questions also with yoga about the image, and this is linked to the conversation, because maybe we need to go blind, and I don't know about the sight of the whales, but maybe this is the animals that we need to get inspired to by. Maybe, yeah, it's like reconstruction of the ear and all the whole system. I'm like thinking about it like since like months and weeks, and like where is the point, where do I go with this thoughts? I don't find the way, but I think it's gonna come if we meditate all together. But I think there is something like a rupture, or there is an evolution, you know. I don't know.
I just want to say a quick word because this is so rich, and then we'll let Oscar close. I think one thing that's breaking now is human narcissism. The humanism of the world had made things so anthropocentric. The anthropos is a human, and we centered everything around the human. So with all these issues, but also the spiritual element, and I think we're needing to break from just the human as the center or the middle, which is the ego of the species. And we know what the human has done. It's just really not done such a terrific job, because we've eradicated so many of the other priorities that belongs to other species. So this conversation has been really interesting, considering dolphins, for one, are the only organisms with brain capacities that's higher than human. So we're actually needing to listen to this, because inner dance is about coming into the dream state, considering dolphins are perpetually in REM. We actually need to listen not just to human brains. So I think a lot of the topic is about other modes of intelligence. We keep thinking of human computational, logical, control-oriented intelligence, and no matter how brilliant we become, it hasn't really gone to as much functionally good elements. It's not been so beneficial because it's just so lacking. So musical intelligence is lacking, ecological intelligence is lacking, kinesthetic, motor movements, you know, other forms are lacking. So we've lost something along the way of becoming too smart for our own good. So we're really amazed and thankful for this topic. So thank you, Oscar, for opening at least this topic from a Mexican space. The Aquaman movie was interesting because it puts so much emphasis in the Mesoamerican. People are interested in Atlantis, and it brought Atlantis actually to the Mayans. So maybe it's not a coincidence that you're bringing this topic up. So if you could help close this call, it's been interesting, relevant, good, and I think it's just a doorway into something really, really big and oceanic.
Thank you, Pai, for immediately wanting to sharing this in the space of the community and inspiring also to create dynamics through this documentary music for all of us as a group. Because initially I really, yes, I approached to you with my intentionally to connecting with you and doing a few things about what we were talking before, but I'm very glad that this is creating this space and this dialogues that they are also enriching me, letting me share things too. Well, other thing is, I think that will be easy to have a server where we can have a global library of things. I think that is interesting, even taking sounds from other people and referencing from where come from this, and with the real information of this. It allowed to us to share with purpose of exploration, aesthetics, music, and also these services and communities and other projects. I think that regulation allowed these kind of things. I really see that this will be part of this ocean of vibrations and sounds, and where also how Caro is connecting with this. Oh, I would like this type of sounds and the elements. I don't know. I think that as a global community, we have an opportunity to mirroring from our own tastes and sensitivities as a participants and create an interesting diversity of precious inspirations and gestures and things and sounds that can enriching to all of us sharing this and becoming this available. I feel that is very interesting. And it also allows to us to be more in touch with the waves, with the sinu waves, with the sonoidal, and start to getting more close to the sonoidal world through the electric world. I think that it's interesting. Someone in this environment, in this expertise, that will arrive soon to us as a group and can inspiring us and showing us many paths that we don't perceive perfectly or accurately yet, and other disciplines also coming to join to this study group. I really feel that is very required. We and you has been doing a lot going to spreading all these frames, but it's very interesting also having certain supporters, as the doctors has been supporting all this process and evaluation, formulation of theories and new material for study and for practicing. And well, guys, you are welcome to reach me out. If you want to know how to participate and technical aspects of minimum details, please. It can be something shorter, it can be something longer. Still cooking the possibility of we can make a compilation of these efforts and we can maybe deliver in this. It's interesting also that this is there, and I'm sure that Seaforestation, I will find a way to introduce this idea, but they are giving me a lot of support and freedom. They are almost happy with whatever I say. So let's see if this circumstance is still in this way, and let's use this as an opportunity to do the below and practicing capacities, and also capacities to change and coordinate even in the distance. It can be a good quality to achieve some things together in the global position. So this is what I feel to say, and yeah, thank you so much for making
Amazing.
topic. Bye.
Amazing. Happy summer solstice to everyone as well. And I know a lot of people are actually quite busy this Thursday night, coming into Friday. So it's pure resonance for people to show up for tonight for Oscar, like in the noontime. Okay, so let's unmute and let's just close this call together. Thank you, everyone. Super happy to
Thank
share
you,
this.
Bye
with you.
bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Happy solstice.
Happy solstice.
Happy solstice.
Happy
Happy San Juan.
rebirth.
Happy San
Happy San
Juan.
Juan.
Here is San Juan.
Yeah.
Yes, San Juan.
Yes, it's
Oh. I didn't know that.
it's the
So
fiesta of the fire.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's
it's
the
something about
fire.
you also.
Yeah. That's a big word. Okay.
We're talking of water in the fire day. Interesting.
Yes.
But you know in
That's super
Ayurveda,
symbolic.
which is interesting is like when they descend, they're coming from the ether, and then the ether turns into air, and then air into fire, and fire into water, and water into earth. So it's interesting. Bye.
Interesting.
Bye.
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 Bisous, bisous.